episode of the Sartorial Geek podcast is sponsored by Little Petal. Little Petal is the most comfortable, subtly nerdy convertible dresses you can imagine. They're all made based on your measurements, and they all have pockets. The designs are based on your favorite characters, and they're subtle enough that they can be worn to work parties, but you can also wear them to a Comic-Con. They're super, super comfy, and if you're nervous about the wrap dress part, they have over 40 tutorials on their website, so you don't have to worry about that. You can use the code Sartorial for free shipping, so go check them out at littlepetal.net. Hey, welcome to the Sartorial Geek podcast. I'm Jordan Ellis of Jordan Dene, and I am here with JPG from Geek Say Network.
How you doing?
Good. I am so glad. We have been trying to get this interview to happen for so many months, and then we finally met in person at San Diego, which was still like half a year ago at this point.
I do have to apologize for geeking out from like in front of you while I was meeting you. I'm a big old dork when it comes to that.
Well, you also asked the only question asked at the panel, or the first one, which was like a lifesaver for us. So you started out on the right foot for sure.
You know, as an aspiring geek icon like you, I want to make sure that I'm like that, like, because I know how it is to just be up there and it be dead quiet and like you feel like you didn't do your job. But a lot of the time, it's because you answered people's questions. And
well,
I think
this is actually a perfect PSA to have. If you ever go to a panel where you like want to make a good impression, think of a question in case there's a Q&A, because that's an immediate like, oh, thank God for you. So for everyone else out there, that was a really, really awesome thing.
Well, you know what, just like we were talking about. Yeah, just like we were talking about off the recording, like, the trick is getting me to stop talking. That's really the thing.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, I'm assuming, based on like the thing you're doing, which is Geek Say Network. That seems like a lot of content where talking a lot is very important. But tell everyone like what that is for people who've never heard of it.
So the Geek Say Network is a podcast network based out of Southern California, specifically Orange County. And not a lot of people know where that is. So I just like to tell people it's around the Disneyland area. I'm actually recording in probably a few blocks away from Disneyland right now.
Oh, so sweet.
That's an easy way to think of where we're at. But our network was started with 3 ideas in mind. All of our shows, when it comes down to it, represent 3 ideas: introduction, entertainment, and inclusivity. And like that actually, each piece actually came from each one of our founders. So with Cole, Cole is one of our founders, and he's on Ready, Set Geek, if you want to check that out. Cole is all about entertainment. The guy's a great improv actor. He's just a naturally funny guy. And, it was really important for him to show that, like, geek culture, it's just fun.
Yeah, totally.
With Alix, who is the showrunner for Ready, Set Geek, she had a whole lot of problems when it came to being a new girl in geek culture. And
that will not be relatable at all to any of our listeners, I'm sure.
And to kind of break it down a little bit, at the time, Alix was my girlfriend when we started the network, and now we're married. Thank God, because she picked me.
Congratulations! Yeah,
thank
so exciting.
you. And so something that we really experienced was like anytime we walked into a comic shop or a board game place, like they'd look to me. And they'd ask me the questions, but like we were really there for her, and it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. It's so weird.
It got to the point where a local board game shop refused to sell a board game to Alix because they thought she wouldn't understand it.
Are you serious?
It was. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, that's not cool at all.
Yeah, and for me, I chose inclusivity. I'm a first generation Filipino male, just trying to make it through geek culture without being a stereotype, and I want to make sure that both the people in my culture and the people in geek culture have someone to look up to and someone to listen to feel included.
That's so awesome. I love all of those things. This is already the best. I love this.
Oh, thanks.
And
I mean, it's not as good as Sartorial Geek.
No. Never. Everything is great. But how many podcasts do you have? Because more than one, right?
Yes. So currently there's 3 right now.
Cool.
And I'm secretly working, and I haven't gotten to announce this yet to too many other places, but I'm secretly working on 7 more.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm showrunner for all 10 of them. And so I work as the executive producer behind the scenes, and there's some really, really, really fun things coming up. A lot more shows about inclusivity that I'm really, really excited about. But our 3 flagship ones right now. First off is Ready, Set Geek. That's where you can hear me, Cole, and Alix talk. And the tagline for that is your starting line to geek culture. So it's making sure that if you don't know how to get into it, send us an email. We will get into it for you. We will devote an entire episode.
That's so awesome. I wish that was around when I first started getting into things, because I would go to a Comic-Con and then see either a bunch of cosplays from something or a bunch of panels about something and be like, I don't know what this is, and then I have to Google it or ask around. And it's not easy to get into stuff. So that's a godsend.
I think the worst thing about that too is conventions are notorious for having terrible Wi-Fi. So while you're trying to look it up in order to compliment someone, you're like, I don't know what this is. Great cosplay, I guess. and it's ridiculous, right? You can't, as a geek, get into absolutely everything, but we can get you at least pieces of it, so you can at least have a conversation about it if you want to get into it. That gap in knowledge, that's what we're trying to solve.
And it does feel terrible when you're you look great and it's not your fault. It's that I don't know what you are. You look like it. I just don't know it.
Yeah, there aren't enough minutes in the day to just be geeky about everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, even with you have to have some gaps in knowledge. I'm shamefully just starting Doctor Who for the very first time, and I'm starting with the 13th Doctor.
That's a perfect way to start.
I know nothing about the Doctor Who series, though. But then I know all these other random things about Golden Age of comic books and all this stuff. Do you have any gaps that?
All of them.
Okay, I gotta hear it.
So I barely watch anime. That's probably the biggest huge thing. I've only seen a couple series. I actually have only been reading comic books for 2 years, and almost only Image comics. So all other comic books, I have no idea.
I understand the whole only reading Image thing. Image is knocking it out of the park right now.
And I was like, oh, this is easy entry, because I tried to pick up I think it was, my house is full of comic books because I'm married to a big comic book reader. So I would pick up one and be like, I need 30 years of backstory on this to understand what's happening. I can't do it. And then same thing, Doctor Who, I'm always behind. I like it, but I'm almost always 2 or 3 years behind, which is not great for me.
Oh no, I get that. Yeah. I had a few fans call me out for my terrible anime knowledge. So I'm just getting back into it now, and we're doing a few episodes on anime this year. So I'm hoping that turns out well and I can do it justice.
That's awesome. You're right though. Thankfully, this is a very cool thing that's happening, but there is too much to be able to know about everything. You can have a casual, you can have heard of things, but it's impossible to have read every series and seen every movie, and it's too much.
Yeah, I get it. And there's another aspect to that too that I always try to bring up. I think I'm a little bit older than you, but I went to middle school and high school in the era where this stuff just was not cool at all.
Yeah. No, that was still when I was in middle school.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
Like, I was the kind of geek that is like intimately familiar with the inside of a locker. You know?
Yeah.
And just like the bullying and like all this stuff. And now I get to talk at Comic-Con and I get to like nerd out about all this stuff with cajillions of people. And it is the most surreal feeling. Like I stepped into another dimension. You know?
I remember Pokemon was the first thing I really got into. And even that, even though it was like very popular, was still like a nerd thing. And now it's like you see people, I mean, especially when Pokemon Go came out and you would see like college campuses full of kids like walking around catching things on their phones. I was like, what is happening? This is amazing.
That first like 2 months of Pokemon Go, that was the closest we are ever going to get to for real Pokemon.
Oh my gosh. It was the best. I loved that so much.
Oh gosh.
I'm like living in a city and walking around and seeing adults playing. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
It is the best, right? It's a phenomenon that happened so quickly and everybody remembers it. And it was just like this flash in the pan sort of thing.
Yeah. It was awesome.
And you'll love this too. Mine and Alex's new puppy, her name is Evie.
I just got Let's Go Eevee before Christmas, and that was like my Christmas break thing that I did, and it was so much fun.
It looks like it's so much fun too. I've yet to jump on it. I just got a Switch. I'm working through Super Smash Brothers. I am terrible at it.
Oh, me too. So terrible. But like the Switch is honestly another thing like this where it's a really accessible gaming thing because video games is another thing that I am like woefully unknowledgeable about. But the Switch, I was like, okay, I can play this. It's like a couple buttons. Some of these games are very easy to jump in on. It's amazing.
I can't believe, just like as like a pop culture critic, I cannot believe that people aren't constantly talking about the Switch.
Yeah.
How accessible it is. I mean, we literally just went to our favorite beer bar, and I just took the screen with us, and we played Overcooked.
That's so awesome.
Right. Yeah. It was amazing. I can't. The Switch is really, Nintendo. What I feel about Nintendo is that they really take chances, and a lot of the chances that they've taken haven't really paid off lately. But this one should definitely pay off. I will be so mad at everyone if this doesn't become a thing.
Well, and it's the only video game thing I've played in probably over a decade, but it's amazing how easy it is. Like you were saying, you can take just the screen, or I've been traveling with the TV connection in my book bag when I go places for the weekend. So like when I went home for the holidays, I played at all my family members' houses, and it's so easy to jump in. And if you have a couple extra controllers, it's like the easiest group activity ever. I love it.
Oh, no, I cannot wait to see where the technology takes us in probably the next 5 to 10 years. But if everybody doesn't have a Switch in the next 2 years, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, I'm like, I have one and I haven't had anything since my Game Boy Color. So yeah, so
taking it back.
That was the last time I played a handheld game. So. Yeah.
So then that was Red and Blue. That was Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon Gold and Silver.
I didn't even get to Gold and Silver. I just played, I think I had Red and then I got Yellow and that was it.
You would have loved Gold and Silver.
I still have my Game Boy. I can go back and check it out. This episode of the Sartorial Geek Podcast is sponsored by Jordan Dene. Jordan Dene is your one-stop shop for fandom fashion. We've got everything you need to put together a casual cosplay outfit or add a little geekery to your home. Our designs are all inspired by our favorite characters in stories throughout history and pop culture. You can check us out at conventions all over the country at jordandene.com and all over the internet at Jordan Dene NYC. So the other two podcasts, are they for more advanced nerds?
A Geek K.O, I would say you need at least an intermediate understanding of geek and pop culture in general. Geek K.O is a bi-monthly trivia podcast. So they take something that's getting pretty popular in the month, and then they do like a full trivia, like hour and a half on it.
Whoa. So is it you play along, or how does that work?
So it's mostly that we invite challengers and we invite end bosses on the show. So a challenger would be somebody in geek culture, and they're like the third contestant for it, on top of the other two contestants, which make up our hosts. And then our end boss is somebody in our geek community that really, really loves the topic, and then crafts a bunch of trivia questions for it. And then we break down the media as well during our pause breaks, and that one's pretty fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then Geek Offensive would be the last of our flagships. And Geek Offensive, this one is going to take a bit, but Geek Offensive is bridging the gap between being a bro and being a geek.
Okay.
And we hear the word bro, and it's like it's a bad connotation, right? Like it's something
Absolutely.
Yes. But there's a lot of traditional male tropes that geek culture kind of falls into, and we kind of explore that a little bit as well. So on some of them, besides one of the segments that I got to create, I got to help create, was breaking down UFC fights. Because on top of loving all comic books, video games, board games, all that stuff, I am a huge fight nerd.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, and then our host for Geek Offensive, Justin, he is an even bigger fight nerd than us. And so once a month we do a UFC fight breakdown. Once a month we take a really, really terrible movie and then we break it down.
Cool.
And then we also do some one-on-one interviews with people. I think we did, and these are all these interviews, these one-on-one interviews. It really delves into what you are personally geeky about. We had somebody who was really geeky about fitness and nutrition. We had somebody who was really geeky about K-pop, and they actually ran a K-pop dance group.
Oh my gosh. That's so awesome.
So it's all about okay, you could be geeky about anything. What can we know about it?
That's really cool too, because I feel like I've had a couple of conversations lately where I'm now realizing the similarities between sports fans and nerd, pop culture fans. And I was like, that always growing up felt so opposite. But there are so many similarities.
I will go on record to say that fantasy football and creating a character in D&D is the exact same thing.
It's so crazy because especially from all the high school movie clique, all of those tropes where it's the football captain hates the nerds, but it's you guys are doing the same thing.
We're literally doing the same thing. Yeah. No, and I always try to, this is always my argument, with fantasy football, you're looking at stats, you're looking at who the best players are, you're looking at what weeks that they're going to take off, things like that. So you take into these, all these pieces into account in order to make the right team with the right moves in order to win that week. It's the same exact thing about, creating a paladin or a wizard in D&D or something like that, right? You take in all the stats, you look at the cantrips and the spells, and you make a character that will be the absolute best in whatever situations you want to run into.
This kind of stuff, I feel the idea of bridging the gap makes so much sense, because I feel that doesn't happen very often, and it totally could. I think we all have a little more in common than we maybe even think we do, and all of this is so much more accessible than is traditionally thought, which is very, very cool.
Oh, yeah. And I think what's really helped with that accessibility, probably within the last 18 years, is Marvel films.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Marvel films opened up so many doors for so many people. And, so you just start with the first Iron Man film. People won't read 70 years of comic book knowledge, but
they will,
they will binge 18 movies, though. Well, 18 and counting. So yeah. And that's like the best part. You know, you kind of rebooted a universe. People are kind of familiar with what you're doing. You get to tell all new stories. Like I literally watched Avengers Infinity War with my 70-year-old mother on New Year's Eve. That's what we did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
But, you know, once again, it's you know, introduction, entertainment, inclusivity. That's all we want to do whenever we're talking.
I love that. Are the podcasts like the main thing that Geek Say What Network is doing?
Oh, yeah. So
cool.
We are moving, you know, to give you a little bit of a background, we're creating even more shows that have to do with inclusivity, different topics that people are really into. And we might be starting a Twitch stream pretty soon.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we're really excited about all the projects that are coming up. But yeah, for the most part, 99% of the things that we're doing are going to be podcasting, mostly because, you know, especially if you live, you know, you're like smack dab in the middle of New York, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So and I'm in Southern California where, you know, yeah, LA, San Diego and all that. Everybody has a terrible commute.
Yeah, totally.
so we're reaching out. Right. We're reaching out to those people who have awful commutes.
And podcasting is such a great. I mean, I need to start getting into audiobooks more, but the reason I haven't is because I'm so into podcasts. That's like what I do when I want to listen to something. I listen to podcasts more than music, honestly.
Oh no, I get that. And I listen to audiobooks more than I listen to music now. Man, I think since I've switched to audiobooks, I haven't read a physical book in a while.
I need to switch to audiobooks because I also don't read books. And so I've just like not been reading anything for a very long time. And there are so many books that are incredible that I want to know about. So that's one of my goals to start doing. Because that's another thing I have a little bit of a pocket of like not really knowing what's going on. I'm never up on the latest books.
Okay, so then so many. So you know, we talked about, you know, like what you're just getting into. There has to be something that you're just like a hardcore geek about, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, Harry Potter I think is like my number one. That was like the first in-person fan group I joined. That was the first Comic-Con I ever went to, was a Harry Potter convention. I like worked on a wizarding themed off-Broadway show. I did merch for that. I like am very, very into the wizarding world.
Could I ask you this?
Yeah.
Like what's your house and how mad do you get if other people are in different houses?
So I'm a Hufflepuff, which probably surprises no one. And so as that, like, I have to love everybody. So, but I do really, really like asking, like my group of nerd boss friends in New York, we always end up talking about like our houses and then the houses of like other people we work with or partner with, because I mean, it's basically a personality test, but it's super insightful a lot of times if you like really know what you're talking about, which is awesome.
Yeah. So my wife, Alix, she's a Hufflepuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Yay. So she calls him Huffletuff.
That I like that a lot. That's great. What's your house?
I'm a hard Gryffindor, but okay, cool. I always have to caveat this because Hermione is my spirit animal, and I'm definitely a Hermione Gryffindor.
There you go. But that's the kind of thing that's really fun when you can get that detailed where it's like, I'm this and I'm this version of this. Or like when people do the dual houses, I forget exactly what that's called. Yeah. Like your secondary. I feel like that is really insightful too.
You know, whenever somebody says, "Oh, like you're a smart Gryffindor," like you only really have like one example. Right. I say this because like people are like, "Oh no, you're definitely a Ravenclaw," and I know why I'm not a Ravenclaw. It's because Gryffindors just jump into the situation and then figure it out. Ravenclaws figure out the situation, then jump in.
Yep.
Yeah,
that is so important.
And I'm an idiot, so I just jump in first, and then I just, like, you know, so that's how I know that I'm a Gryffindor instead of a Ravenclaw. And people in the Harry Potter fandom, you need to make sure that you can defend these specific nuances about you.
And it's also funny, this never happens to me now. I feel like I think I'm like 99% every characteristic of a Hufflepuff. But it is kind of funny when people like self-sort into a certain house and then their friends are like, are you sure? Like, I don't know about that. That's one of my favorite things to see when it's like, I don't know if you know yourself as well as you think you do.
Yeah, right. Where you're like, we should probably have you take the test.
Okay, if you say so.
It's like self-diagnosing yourself. Like, you're not a doctor. You can't tell me if like something's broken internally, right? Like, you're not a wizard. Right. Take the test. Right?
And just see what it says.
Exactly.
And I think that's really fun. I'm way more into that version of like hanging out in the Harry Potter universe. I'm not sold on all the new stuff past the 7 books and movies. I mean, there's so much to talk about there, but I think it's really fun. Like, my version of the universe continuing is like taking it into personal lives like that, like talking about Hogwarts houses in real life instead of like diving into all the Pottermore extras and reading all of the plays and the Fantastic Beasts movies. Like, for everyone who loves them, great, but that's not where I hang out in the fandom at all.
And I get that. You know, Fantastic Beasts and The Cursed Child are kind of like how the prequels are to Star Wars fans, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'm the first to tell you that I was very much a prequel hater. You know, it was the Star Wars prequels, they don't exist. You don't have to watch them, yada, 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 you know. And now that I'm older and I get to look at it a little bit more objectively, there are so many great things that came out of the prequels that we really benefit from in the Star Wars series. And I'm really hoping that that's how Fantastic Beasts are. Because, and I said this on one of our Ready, Set Geek podcasts as well, but I personally felt like the last Fantastic Beasts was a little bit of a misfire.
Yeah. I'm glad, because I messaged someone as soon as I left the theater that was like, did that movie make any sense to you? Like, I feel like I have no idea what happened.
We did the same thing, you know, Alex and I saw it. We saw, you know, one of the first showings of it, and we talked in the car after, and it was that that kind of really tense moment of, oh God, I don't know if my partner liked it. What if they liked it and I hated it? And now we're getting divorced. You know?
Yeah. Because seriously though, that's the kind of worries that nerdy couples have.
Oh no. When the month before Alex and I got married, she had never seen Star Wars, and I paid to make sure that she saw episodes 4, 5, and 6 in theaters.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, if she doesn't like it, like, I'm just going to have to call off this wedding.
Yeah. Like what are we going to do?
Right? Like, what if your husband didn't like Harry Potter?
Well, so he's only read one of the books, and that is a constant struggle where he's like, the universe doesn't really make that much sense based on just seeing the movies. I'm like, I know, man, you gotta read the book.
Yeah, you have to read the books. Plus, like, the first 2 books are incredible introductions to reading in general for children, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then the 3rd book, Prisoner of Azkaban, just punches you in the mouth. And I love that, you know. And then after that, Goblet of Fire has the stuff with Cedric, and oh my gosh, I can't believe how well the books grew up with a generation. Like, Rowling was, she was a genius.
Absolutely. I didn't read them growing up with them. Like, I have friends who like started at the beginning and were sort of the same age as the characters, which is very, very cool. I read them all when they had all come out, but you can tell no matter when you're reading them where it's like, oh, this is like a younger kid's book. Oh, now it's a teen/adult book. Like, I totally agree with that. It totally grows up with you, which is awesome.
I mean, like, people die, you know, people have, there are repercussions for the choices that you make. It's this incredible entry into just reading long form books for children.
I love it. I'm holding out hope that like something else will come into the universe that I'm excited about. I mean, you saying that's similar to the Star Wars prequels, you know, then we got the movies we have now. So like maybe a similar thing will happen. I hope.
Do you
It would
have
be really
like,
nice.
do you have like a perfect Harry Potter continuation like idea?
No, I almost never go into the like, I don't write my own like
Fan fiction?
what are those
Like,
called? Like
you don't do
I'm like
headcanon?
headcanon. No,
Oh.
it's very, I don't know why. I mean, there are things like when I read The Hunger Games, I was like, oh, I'm all about Gale forever. And then that didn't happen. I was like, in my head, I still really like that. So I do that kind of stuff, but I don't know if it's because I'm so much of a, like, this is very funny. I'm a very, very good audience member. Like, I just want to hear what the person who is performing has to say. And I'm like, great. I love hearing your ideas. I think that's why. I'm just like, give me what you have. I'll think about it and I won't rewrite it because you did it. But I love that people do. That's not like that is in no way saying that it's bad. I'm very, very happy that fanfic and all of that stuff exists. It's just not, it's not for me, which is, I guess, another thing that is something I am like not a huge part of in nerd culture.
See, I think that's why I'm so passionate about inclusion in general, right? I think when I was a kid, you know, being an Asian male, like it was the idea that I don't get to see myself on TV or in these books or anything like that, right? And when Star Wars and when Dungeons and Dragons and when all that like gave me an outlet of, okay, cool, I can actually see myself in it, then I kind of just like lose myself in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm such a huge like martial arts fan in general, because really the only things growing up that I got to see with Asian leads in it were martial arts films.
Yep. That is unfortunate that was the only thing, but that totally makes sense.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like now, I don't know. We get so many cool things now. Like and like everybody gets so many cool things. Like I think a bunch of people really slept on the Ocean's 8 film.
Yeah, totally. You're right.
I couldn't believe how much fun I had like watching that film, and like I kind of had a little bit of a heads up because I'm such a huge heist film fan. Yeah. And but like to have an all-female cast and for them to kick so much butt, you know, it was so cool.
It was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And seeing that, the different dynamic of like an all-female cast, just how that plays out. Like even, I mean, no spoilers, but the way it ends is like, all right, that is a different twist that is very, very cool to see.
And so worth it. So worth it to watch. I had so much fun watching 100%. It. Yeah. And for me, I think one of the big ones recently was Moana. And so I have a bunch of nieces and goddaughters, and one of my goddaughters, she is 9 now. But when it came out a few years ago, I remember buying that like really, really hard to find Moana doll for her and then gifting it to her on Christmas and then watching her open it and then watching her treat it like it was the Bible. You know?
Yeah, totally.
It was magic. I couldn't believe how magical it was. But like now that we have all this inclusion, I'm so excited to see what we get to do in the next few years.
I agree. I feel like nerd culture is heading in such a fun way, and I love being able to talk to you about what you guys are doing in it, because it feels like even with just the 3 that you have now, not even the 7 upcoming shows, that there's like something for everyone, which I think is very, very cool.
Yeah, no, I'm really appreciative of what we get to do. I always tell our fans, you know, if I paid out of pocket and just did this for the rest of my life, I would happily do so. And getting to see, getting to have those fan interactions, getting to really be a part of the culture and making it and trying to make a difference, you know, this is the coolest thing in the world.
I totally agree. Other than searching for your podcasts, like on everyone's favorite podcast listening app. Where else can people hang out with you guys on the internet?
You can find us you can find us at Geek Say What on any of your social medias. We're not the biggest on Twitter. There's a lot of we've experienced some toxicity, to be quite honest.
Twitter is no one's favorite. I mean, okay, that's not true. Twitter is lots of people's not favorite platform.
Oh, yeah, but we're definitely on Facebook and Instagram. You can always ask us any sorts of questions. The email that we always want people to send questions to is inquiries@geeksaywhat.com. And then honestly, I'm just going to give out my email for your listeners as well. If you guys have any sorts of questions, you guys ever want to get into stuff, or if you just want to talk about geeky stuff, you can reach me, JPG, and that's jpg@geeksaywhat.com.
So you guys have an exclusive email address now.
You know what? Google is a blessing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that is so awesome. Thank you so much for chatting about all kinds of nerdy stuff. This was the best.
Oh, no. Seriously, I am one of your biggest fans. I
know. And I am blushing over here just because of that. You can't see me, but it is hilarious.
I will call myself out on this. Okay. I actually sent you fan mail that you answered.
In the mail or email?
No, an email. I sent you a fan email, just gushing about how much I loved your stuff and everything. Your clothing line is subtly geeky, and that's exactly what I wear on a daily basis. And you are so amazing, and I can't explain to you how much your support has really, really helped out both me and my network.
I'm so happy. The feeling is mutual. Messages like that make my life. So thank you for sending that. First of all, it's in my happy mail folder that I keep with all the nice messages I've ever gotten. So I really appreciate it. And then being able to talk to you and about the things you're doing has been so cool.
Okay, but you have to come on to an episode of Ready, Set, Geek, and we will. You got it. We will even let you pick what we do an intro to. If you want to, if you're super passionate about something, we will definitely explore it.
That sounds awesome. So when that happens, guys, I'll let you all know, and you can listen to my episode over there. That sounds great.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this podcast, honestly, please go check out the other ones we've been talking about, because we are all talking about the same kind of nerdy pop culture stuff. And if you want to help us out in other ways, you can check out our Patreon. You can leave us a review. You can check us out on social media. But thank you all so much for listening. Have a wonderful week and stay nerdy. We'll talk to you later. Bye.